polling day for Karnataka Assembly elections is 10th of May. That leaves political parties with nothing more than 2 days for door-to-door campaigns. It is the silent period, and all campaigns, at least the loud rallies, roadshows, etc., have to be packed away and put away. And at South First, we take a look at the entire campaign so far, the mood of the voters in Karnataka, how political parties have fared, but more importantly, what are the actual issues on ground and what are the cosmetic issues that have been, can we say, riled up or hyped in the media, and the unique political situation that Karnataka finds itself in when compared to the rest of the country. And to discuss this today, I have two people who do not just follow Karnataka politics closely, but have great insights into how politics in Karnataka works. It's my pleasure to bring on board Professor Narayana. Thank you so much for joining. He is from School of Policy at Azim Premji University. I also have with me today on the show Chandan Gowda. He heads the Ramakrishna Hegde Chair, a professor at ISEC. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on Southwest today. Let me come across to Professor Narayana first. Your impression of the campaigns so far, anything that you thought was a great campaign, was a terrible campaign, either of the parties. So let me get your initial impressions on the campaign so far and the electoral battle so far.
Okay, let me make two brief points, Anusha, and thank you very much for inviting me for this discussion. The 2 points that I would like to make in response to your question is this. One, insofar as BJP was concerned, BJP was really scrambling for an issue, right? It didn't know what issue to highlight, just as it had a problem in presenting a face to the voters. It lacked an issue too, and that confusion was coming out clearly as it moved from corruption to dynastic rule to then double engine government to, and finally this proposal in the Congress manifesto to ban a particular organization, right? So it kept changing the central issue of the campaign, and it to some extent showed how BJP was struggling to highlight a main issue. So that is about the BJP. And when it came to the Congress, I would say that Congress, as usual, might not have matched the BJP strength in campaign. However, when compared to all the past elections, Congress campaign this time was far better. Whether it was their road shows or the way the leaders spoke, the way they used the social media, everywhere, I think when compared to the past record of the Congress, this time the party did much better. However, I wouldn't be able to say whether they could match the BJP's way of organizing the campaign and conducting elections.
How about you, Chandan? What were your key takeaways from the campaign? If you can also throw a little bit of light on the JDS's campaign, because as we understand, the Pancharatna Yatra that Mr. H.D. Kumaraswamy led seems to have resonated much more with the rural voters, the core voters of the JDS, than the other two statewide yatras that the BJP and the Congress, both national parties, did take out. If your impressions of the campaign so far.
Yeah, thanks, Anusha. I agree with Narayana over the Congress thing, that it's definitely been a more aggressive than it ever has been in the past. The social media presence has been a steady, good, constant one. The Pay CM campaign actually, really has done it a lot of good in terms of, registering a problem in the public imagination in a decisive way. And whatever the factionism inside, it has been contained quite nicely, in the sense it's not been allowed to break anything apart. And the 5 promises that they kept talking about, the clear promises of free electricity and unemployment dole and the other 3 things, which were released much before the manifesto was released, was also a smart move. If you remember, they would usually wait until the manifesto was released to talk about concrete promises. This is what they did in the last Lok Sabha elections, but not so this time. I think it was a good move on their part. And generally, I think they have been upbeat about the very real existence of an anti-incumbency mood on the ground. And interestingly, just as it's surprised about the strength of the Congress's campaign, I think the BJP social media campaign has been somewhat not all that strong, actually. And I don't know quite what to attribute this to. in terms of, either comebacks or sort of, these sort of aggressive accusations that you would normally see them make. I haven't seen much of that this time. So I would probably attribute that to the general kind of downbeat mood that you saw in the BJP cadres, especially because the anti-incumbency fact seemed so overwhelmingly the case and hard to dislodge. And also this very free purging that you saw of senior leaders, which left the rank and file in many places quite in a state of confusion about what precisely is this party they were working for, because it's not what they're used to seeing happen normally. So there is that. But the mention of Bajrang Dal in the manifesto, whatever else it may do, and we don't quite know what it will do in terms of electoral impact, it has definitely energized an otherwise subdued BJP cadre. Whether it means extra seats, we don't know, but it got a certain kind of energy that it didn't have in the past. That's what I can tell. Now, the Janata Dal's campaign is interesting because it was started in late October last year. And they were and the first list was also released in November of the 91 candidates. And they did a low visibility on the media radar, but the campaign was doing well. Only if you're plugged into JDS social media sources would you see videos of them, speeches of them, but the mainstream media didn't really talk about them very much. But they had a sense of what their Pancharatna stood for, the 5 promises, and they have kept, talking about them. And I don't know, but they say we have established in the minds of the electorate what we will do for you if you bring us in. But the last few weeks, where all parties started campaigning in a big way, whether these campaigns have clouded the previous efforts on the ground, or whether those efforts will manage to stay durable despite the new campaign, again, remains to be seen. But the one thing, Anusha, and everyone knows this, is the decisive 2 days, the 48 hours before the halt to the campaign, that campaign where enormous amounts of money and things exchange, hands, etc., which is always usually difficult to call. There's an added complication this time of so many rebel candidates in the Congress as well as in the BJP. And I believe the crossover of local level leaders and their followers across the parties has been so much. And they all carry with them a few thousand votes. How it might pan out, we don't know. But almost everyone you speak to will tell you that this is probably an election where we'll see the maximum number of wins with very small victory margins. And this is as a result of the shuffling, the enormous shuffling on the grassroots. I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
I must also add that the JDS would also agree that it stands to be the biggest beneficiary of these rebellions or disappointed ticket aspirants in both of these Congress and BJP groups or parties, because a whole lot of candidates who lost out, aspirants who lost out on tickets have now landed with the JDS, more than 21 such people, giving the JDS probably a fighting chance in constituencies where the party has no cadre, no following whatsoever. But while Chandan was speaking...
But Anusha, very quickly,
sure.
Anusha, a response to the comment you just made, this sort of shifts, even if it means a very few victories, you simply can't be sure if they will stay with you the whole course.
Right.
These are the MLAs who are most vulnerable to being, being attracted back to where they were, etc. So that's a strange sort of recruitment.
No, but that is a post-election scenario. But the very fact that the JDS now has more candidates than it originally intended to in the number of seats stands at the JDS's advantage. Well, Chandan Gowda was speaking. He also mentioned Professor Narayana about how this sudden debate around banning Bajrang Dal, whether the Congress making that a part of its manifesto, if that has given a fillip to the BJP's campaign. The other component also that I saw hit the headlines and earlier was this abuse culture that the Prime Minister referred to when a personal comment was made against him. But somehow, unlike the last few times when Congress leaders have ended up making personal comments against the Prime Minister, the BJP has been able to sustain that as a huge poll pitch. This time around, that has not happened. Quickly, the BJP moved on to its next and the next poll pitches. So let's understand, do you believe that these issues that were hyped in the media as game changers truly are game changers when it comes to narrative setting, or is it more media hype than ground impact?
Okay, so a straight answer to your question, are they the game changers? The answer is no. They are not going to be the game changers. However, they did make an impact, as Chandan mentioned, right? The issue of Bajrang Dal, it energized the BJP cadres, and they didn't know what to do, what issue to highlight, and then this issue came as a big boost to them, right? So here I would say something about the Congress. The Congress should not have made this mistake. You are fighting a formidable enemy, and at this stage you don't want to give a handle to them to operate, right? And that is exactly what the Congress did. I don't know what was the need for it, and what kind of thinking was it. Anyway, now would it lead to some kind of massive change in the voting pattern? I don't think so, for various reasons. One, this is not an organization which even the BJP considered so close to it, right? So there were issues between the BJP and Bajrang Dal, and therefore the BJP very cleverly, they did not took up the cause of the Bajrang Dal. It started saying that the Congress sort of offended some religious feelings by bringing Hanuman into the picture. Now, any clever voter would understand the ploy here. Therefore, I think at best this would have appealed only to the already converted and not to any new voters, right? So it was so obvious that they were trying very hard to bring Hanuman into the picture and make an issue out of it. So this is about the Bajrang Dal issue. And I would again say that this was a strategic mistake that the Congress did, giving some kind of energy, unwanted advantage to the BJP towards the end. But, as somebody put it, in a way, possibly there was a positive side to it. It would have prevented the BJP from inventing another issue to hijack the campaign towards the end, because BJP is known to do this, right? And when this issue came, possibly it had an opportunity cost. Possibly another more potent issue should have damaged the Congress more, would have been prevented. I don't know. So this is one thing. That is one. And also, this is what someone said. If it was not this, it would have been something else. That's how the BJP plays it toward the end of the campaign, right? So in a way, it would have been a blessing in advantage for the Congress, blessing in disguise for the Congress, we do not know. Now, when it comes to the other issue that you said, personal attacks, whenever the BJP raises the issue of corruption, right, the Congress will not be in a position to defend itself or to take it, make it an issue, for the precise reason that the BJP would say that you too did corruption in the past, right? So when it comes to corruption issue, the Congress is not in a position to make it a big election issue. Now the same thing happens with the BJP when it comes to personal attacks. Tell me one thing that tell me where BJP fell short of this when it comes to personal attacks. They did all kinds of attacks on all kinds of leaders on the opposition side, right? On the other side. So whether it is the Prime Minister, whether it is the Home Minister, whether it is the local leaders. So this was their standard style to personalize the campaign and politics, right? So therefore, if Prime Minister and the party cry over some personal comment made on any of the leaders, including the Prime Minister, I don't think it is going to cut much ice with the electorate. And that is precisely why possibly they did not continue with it beyond 2-3 days.
You also pointed to how when you were, I'll just come to Chandan on the same point, but when Professor Narayana was speaking, he also spoke about how there was the other side to this entire Bajrang Dal issue that, it did not, probably it gave Congress the control over the entire scenario because they set it up. They pretty much set up the entire debate.
I don't think they would have set it up. But
Okay.
as I mentioned,
No, they set up the
might be
platform at least.
I didn't get it in the sense.
They set up the platform. In fact, when they mentioned Bajrang Dal in their manifesto, it was not the BJP that initiated that conversation. It was the Congress that initiated that conversation. The point I was trying to make also is that the Congress's own defense of its stance on Bajrang Dal has been that it will also help it consolidate its core vote bank, minority votes, progressive votes, if they do put Bajrang Dal and PFI on the same platform. And this is not the first time that Congress leaders have sought a ban on Bajrang Dal by boxing them under the same category. But like Professor Narayana pointed out, it has absolutely come as a great boon for the BJP, at least to further its own ecosystem in backing it, this particular election. I'll come to you, Chandan. You had a point to make on this.
Yeah, Anusha, I think there's another angle to the mention of Bajrang Dal in the manifesto, and I think you just hint and touched on it just now. Everyone wondered why would they make something like this, because they know full well how the right would respond to that, but they go ahead with it anyway. So what precisely may have been the calculation? And one, easy inference is that in the coastal area where it had done poorly last time, where it was expected to do better in a few seats this time, if the SDPI was also fielding candidates there, so there's a way in which you would not want that to spoil the chances. So you're maximizing your chances with the Muslim support in that area for sure. And secondly, we all know that the Muslims this time are expected to do strategic voting. That is, vote JDS wherever it is, winning, and vote Congress wherever it's winning. This will work well when the opposing candidate is a BJP candidate. But what about those places where it's JDS versus Congress, where there are sizable number of Muslims in a lot of these constituencies? I think it was an attempt to attract the Muslim voters in these places as well. Of course, the Bajrang Dal is not a presence in the old Mysore region, so it may be an abstract something, but it's a threat nevertheless. And we'll have to see what it does, what it has done. Does it confuse the Muslim voters? Does it make them more anxious about vote splits, etc.? We know that post-elections, but I think there was definitely that dimension, because in the last assembly elections, Rahul Gandhi's declaration in Hassan that JDS was a B team of BJP, is known to have helped them. In fact, even in hardcore JDS areas, Muslims didn't vote JDS in Hassan and Ramnagar, etc. So I think some of that has also happened. But I think it was not like a united Congress wanting that. I think some didn't want that to be said. Some said, no, we should go with it. And that has prevailed. And so we should see.
The reaction of Congress leaders also betrayed exactly what Chandan Gowda was saying, that it perhaps was not a unanimous decision to put the name of this outfit there. These, like we said, these were the issues that were highly discussed. I understand even a lot of Delhi columnists, political columnists, insist that it was a huge mistake by the Congress. But I would like to also think that all political parties, these are professional parties, and they know exactly what they are doing and what they should anticipate when they put in something like this. So coming down to actual issues that have been the point of debate, that have been the deciding factors as far as voters go in Karnataka, something that somehow the mainstream media refuses to acknowledge. These are very pressing concerns on ground, where all our pre-poll surveys suggest that when you speak to people, ask them what is it that is influencing their decision to vote, other than the huge factor of caste in Karnataka, which has always played the biggest role when it comes to politics. These are very livelihood issues. These are very real issues, whether it's unemployment, whether it is in price rise, whether it is inflation. These are what the pre-poll surveys suggest. But Professor Narayana, is this something you think is also playing a big role in the decision-making process of a voter? Since you're somebody who also understands grassroots level politics deeply, I would like to understand from you if these are pressing concerns this election.
Yeah. So some surveys said corruption is an issue that bothers the voters more than price rise. But I went around the state to some districts, and whenever I spoke to the voters, it appeared to me that price rise bothers them more than corruption. Now, I wouldn't say that corruption is not an issue. Corruption is certainly there in the minds of the people when they speak about price rise. But all of them unanimously said that life has become more difficult for us in the last 4 or 5 years. Now, is it because of the state government? Is it because of the union government's policies? Some of them may be because of the state government's policies. Some of them may be because of the union government's policies. People don't make such distinction. And then, in a way, therefore, this double engine idea that BJP tries to sell has worked negatively for it. In the sense, if it is the combined impact of both the union government and the state government, the BJP is saying that it will work to an advantage, but here people feel the other way. So people think that, whether it is the union government's policy or the state government policies, we are made to pay more for fuel to food items to fertilizers to everything. Two statements are particularly telling here. One farmer told us that, look here, we do get some money annually from the union government. They mentioned some figure under Kisan, some program. And his question was this: what is the use if they are taking more from our pockets throughout the year, and in the end of the year or after 3 months or so, I get 2,000 rupees or whatever in installments, but then by then they would have fleeced more from my pocket, from me. So therefore, these programs are not working for us in the context of the price rise. So certainly people think that life has become harder for them, and however much they earn, they find it difficult to make the ends meet. So this is weighing very much in the minds of the people. However, when it comes to campaigning, or when it came to the media, now I think this anger got generated not necessarily because of the campaign. I don't think this anger got generated because of the media. It is certainly very organic. It is something which came up because of the life experience of the people. Otherwise, this could not have been so strong and so stark. And wherever you go, from even in coastal Karnataka, where people may continue to, a large number of them may continue to vote for the BJP, but even they say that, this is difficult for life has become more difficult for us in the last 4 years.
Ask Professor Chandan Gowda this question now that Mr. Narayana was speaking about how these core issues are organic, have come out of lived experiences, and he makes a very valid point when he says because the governments are the same, the parties in power are the same at the center and the state, probably people have that to see as a vent for their irritation or the frustration of price rise, inflation, etc. But when you discuss Karnataka politics, there is no way you'll leave out caste, and caste equations this time around also seem to play a huge role. And especially the Lingayats, especially after the exit of a tall leader like Jagdish Shettar from the BJP. Do you see a change in caste votes, in caste equations when it comes to vote banks for three of these primary parties?
Anusha, the question of caste will be just the Lingayat support base because of the removal of some leaders. And then almost everyone will say, and quite correctly, that damage is not inestimable in terms of seats. The damage is truly the kind of psychological attachment that the community had with the party. That has come unstuck. Now, what does it mean in terms of, Lingayats turning away from the BJP this time or next time? We don't know. Some can put a number. There's a 3% we lost across the state because Lingayats exist, are present all through the state, and we don't know what that means in terms of an election win or loss for anybody. Now, that is a significant casualty. If you're a party that had emerged with this community's backing, that's a risk you would rather not talk. Unless the BJP actually means it, that we don't want to be any in the property of any caste. We want to belong to everybody. I don't know what the calculation there is. But in terms of seats, it looks like Shettar's a removal won't mean much of a loss in terms of seats. And some of these, they say, might mean some loss, but not clear. Again, these two leaders are from small subcaste within the Lingayats. The biggest subcaste, Panchamasalis, Yatnal is a leader of that caste. They have actually not said a thing. On the contrary, they've been thanking Bommai for reservations, although the reservation that he's promised is far smaller than what they were demanding, etc., etc. So there's a way in which they've managed the Lingayat discontent in these ways, but we'll have to see what it means actually. But the other caste angle that one is also very curious about this time is the internal reservation issue. That Bommai has promised an internal, quota marking for the Madigas, the left-hand Dalits, and what this means. And a curious fact, in the 36 reserved constituencies, is Congress has fielded about 9, I think, left-hand Dalits, and BJP 10, and I forget the JDS number. But wherever any party has fielded a left-hand Dalit, the other two parties have fielded right-hand Dalits or touchable Dalits, the Bodis, the Banjaras, the Lambanis. So these segments are going to vote against each other. So it's an interesting contest to see what will end up happening here. Yes, and I think JDS will continue to command the loyalty of Vokaligas, like it always has. But then it's not total monopolistic loyalty, because the Congress has also shared some of it in the past. But how much of it the BJP will grab this time is a question to bear in mind when we look at the results. Yes, and I think this is the ways in which I think the caste thing is playing out, at least at the meta level.
Before we run out of time, a last question to Professor Narayana. Karnataka, like I said, it has a unique situation when it comes to regional parties. And this time around too, the JDS, it seems, is still looking to hold on to that 20% vote share that it generally considers its own vote share. Where do you think the JDS lies this election, given this high-profile campaign, like you pointed out, over the last 2 weeks? The national parties have taken over the campaign space. Where does that leave the JDS?
Okay. So let me also relate my answer to one of the questions that you asked earlier to Chandan. This is about a large number of disgruntled leaders from other parties joining the BJP, right? Sorry, the JDS, right? Now, this is not something new. Every elections, JDS comes to life largely during the election time, right? Because it gets candidates rejected or who did not get ticket in other parties join JDS. As Chandan said, some of them would stay, some of them would leave, but then they would bring some kind of energy to the party towards the toward the election. This has been happening in almost all the past elections. So this is one. Now, I mentioned about the kind of anger that people harbor against the BJP. I would think that in the strongholds of the JDS, this anger would result in the JDS gain. In areas where the Congress is strong, I think Congress is going to gain from this. So therefore, overall, I don't think the JDS would do worse than in the past. So it will hold on to its strength, and it will continue to maintain its kind of position in Karnataka politics. Numbers may increase or decrease. That's a different thing. However, I think when it comes to the overall position of the party in Karnataka politics, I think they'll continue to stay where they have been, at least for this election. In the future, we do not know, because right now, the senior Gowda and Mr. Kumaraswamy are leading the party. And I think the party is popular in its strongholds.
And this is a problem that we've encountered every election, that the mainstream media severely underestimates how powerful and how influential the JDS can be in a setup like there is in Karnataka. In other states where regional parties either are in complete control, like Tamil Nadu, where the DMK and AIDMK are actually the rivals, and all other national parties come to the...
Sorry, but I wouldn't equate JDS with any regional party that you find in the neighboring states.
Elsewhere, correct. That's why I said it's a unique situation. That's why it is very unique. It's different.
It's certainly not a regional party of that kind. Yeah.
Yes. But
the fact remains, Anusha, that if it gets 1/5 of the vote, across the tally, it doesn't win seats in Bangalore, just 1 or 2. But the vote share continues to be 15 or 16%.
Yes.
And it's interesting. So in our imagination of the polity and parties, etc., we are still led by this, half and more majority, the others are all don't matter. But my question has always been, if let's say the old Mysore region or Hyderabad Karnataka region or Mumbai Karnataka region keeps sending party A or party B because they think they represent them the best, and that party will come up with 40 or 35 seats, and they will, these regions aren't sending them to sit in the opposition space. They're just hoping they'll get to be able to govern as well. There's something I think quite not giving in the way the current apportioning of government power has been structured. Maybe it's the limits of a certain kind of imagination, Narayana. I think federalism, we think of it at the national level.
Yes.
But if we bring that principle inside the state level, how would you rethink a power arrangements? I mean, this is a hypothetical question, of course. It goes against what the practices we've become habituated to, but something to bear in mind.
I remember this conversation I had with Chandan, and he spoke about how the BJP with its infamous Operation Kamala has kind of changed the entire outlook towards a coalition, the possibility and the advantages of a coalition government. And I hope we could continue the debate, but I'm absolutely running out of time. So thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to have another discussion with you once the results are also out. And we must see all of these points that we raised, whether they've had a bearing on the results overall. Thank you so much, Professor Chandan. Thank you so much, Professor Narayana. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Speaking to you.
Thank you, Anusha.